now recognize the gentleman from Louisiana. You don't have a witness here that speaks the same language like you did yesterday, but you're still recognized for 5 minutes.
That's right. I'm going to try real hard. I got a lot to ask. I don't know if I'll get over that. I never have enough time over here. I want to just make one quick comment that I'm certainly glad that mankind did not calculate the perils or the perilous circumstances of sea voyage about 400 years ago so that they could find this great country. I guess that's why my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are so mad. They didn't do that calculation. I guess if they would, they wouldn't have come over here, and then they could have been born in Europe. But I mean, you know, just common sense over here. I wanted to ask, and I don't know if they asked you this, Mr. Noor. I had to step out a couple of different times, but last week the president had a press conference. He made some statements. And did the White House call you and ask you to give them any statistics on that?
I'm sorry, what specific statement are you referring to?
Well, he had a press conference where he talked about production increases and how he was doing such a fabulous job of increasing oil production in this country. I was just wondering, were you in that meeting? Did they brief you and call you and ask you to send them some statistics?
So,
no, that's a yes or no. I mean, did they call you last week to ask you to send them some data?
There is data in that fact sheet that comes from EIA, yes.
That was sent specifically to the White House on a request last week? You know,
I was not involved in providing them data. It's very routine for EIA to be providing data.
Do you know if you sent them this data that says in the first quarter of 2011, your agency said that production per day in the Gulf will decrease from 1.59 million barrels to 1.4 million barrels a day?
Are you asking me if they're the numbers in our short-term energy outlook?
No. I know that's your numbers. Okay. Did you send that to the president? Did you send that to the administrator? Because he never mentioned that in his press conference. He just said that production was the highest. He's a fellow who gave us all. Did you send that to the White House? I'm trying to figure out if he got these statistics. Did you or did you not send these statistics to the White House? If they asked you last week for some statistics, was this statistic in there?
My recollection of what's in the fact sheet was kind of historical as opposed to our forecast, and so.
I mean, don't you think that I mean, you don't just send him facts, but you evidently try to influence policy by doing forecasts, or you would not have run these numbers. I mean, don't you think it was your responsibility to send it to the president and say, boss, I think you're fixing to make a big misstatement?
We certainly do not do our forecasts to influence policy. Quite to the contrary, we do our forecasts in order to inform people about the current state of affairs and the likely state of affairs in the future, given what we see in the market and regulatory outlook.
Well, okay, that didn't answer the question, but do you or don't you agree that under the current policy, production in the Gulf of Mexico will continue to decline?
Yeah, there is a lag.
No. That's yes. No. I mean, it's pretty simple. They don't need an explanation. It's just, is the number going down or is it going up?
Over the next 2 years, which is where our short-term outlook goes, there is a decline in the Gulf of Mexico in terms of offshore oil production.
Okay, and so the Gulf of Mexico production it factors into the entire domestic production, correct?
That's correct.
So that means that if that goes down, then domestic production goes down, correct?
Other things equal, that'll tend to lower the rate of change of domestic production. Yeah.
Well, I mean, other things equal, like what?
Well, there could be also there's also offsetting effects because there's
such as.
Well, there's been increased production of liquids-rich natural gas shale plays. There's been increased production on the Bakken in the lower.
Really? Well, I'm glad you brought that point up because, you see, he's taking credit for increase of production, but yet there's one project in the Gulf, one deep water project, started at least under Reagan, another lease block was under Bush or Clinton, and then I think they started drilling in Bush 2 in 99. The platform was set in 2005, 250,000 barrels a day. 250,000. You think there's anything onshore, one well that can produce that much oil onshore? No, that's yes and no. I mean, that's pretty easy. I mean, you know the facts. You know where all oil is in the country. Is do you think that there's a project where onshore where we can get 250,000 barrels a day out of a well?
No.
Thank you.
No.
I yield.